Hey everyone. Welcome to the Secrets Behind the Stars channel. All the buzz is here in our video, and if you enjoy it, remember to subscribe and share before we dive in. Thank you so much. Ozan Akbaba, gearing up for a major return to the big screen with a new project that has the industry talking, set off a whirlwind with a single sentence after a private event. Surrounded by cameras and microphones, he handled questions from reporters with his usual calm, keeping his words brief, his smile polite, and his answers deliberately measured. But a persistent voice cut through the chatter and changed the temperature of the evening. Who has influenced you the most? For a heartbeat, Ozan hesitated, glancing toward the exit, as if considering whether to walk away or wade straight into the storm. Then he drew a breath and said something that stunned the room. I fell for Sinem, he admitted, the syllables landing like a soft but undeniable thunderclap. The press froze. A hush swept over the hallway. Before anyone could follow up, Ozan slipped toward his car, offering no clarifying comment, leaving the echo of his confession to expand on its own. Within minutes, that brief moment became a tidal wave. The clip spread across social platforms at a speed only a true celebrity spark can ignite. Fans clashed beneath every post. Some were convinced they had just witnessed a confession years in the making, a moment of truth finally voiced out loud. Others insisted the words were a poetic turn of phrase, the kind of reflection artists fall into when talking about the past. And while accounts flooded timelines with old photos, interviews, and scenes that the pair had once shared, one person remained strikingly quiet, Sinem Ünsal. Silence, in her case, spoke loudly. According to whispers from her inner circle, Sinem was surprised by the line but remained utterly composed, taking the long view rather than reacting impulsively. Those who know her well say this is who she is, controlled, cautious with the public, unwilling to invite speculation into her private rooms. Commentators echoed that sentiment. If this is her choice, she can keep quiet for as long as she wants, one tabloid regular mused on air. Meanwhile, the public's attention, fueled by a nostalgic hunger, pivoted to a single question: are they back together? The energy was electric. Fans who had fallen in love with their on-screen chemistry years ago, viewers who knew every glance and pause by heart, felt the old spark reignite. Threads were flooded with memories and theories, some heartfelt, others conspiratorial. Hashtags started to rise. Hashtag Ozan Akbaba, hashtag Sinem Ünsal, and a wave of hashtag #Sinem posts that cast the confession as a one and only declaration. In the gossip world, a confession like this can mean many things. Some insiders whispered that it might be a calculated step to heighten the emotional temperature around Ozan's new project. Others saw it as a moment of unguarded honesty, the kind that slips out only when someone's guard fails for a second. People close to Ozan, though, described the moment as nothing more and nothing less than an authentic emotional lapse in an otherwise controlled evening. They avoided any talk of romance, refusing to fan a flame they didn't intend to feed. Still, the tabloids waited, laser-focused on one possible next move. Would Sinem speak? Would she drop a line in a story, share a suggestive song, or answer a question at a premiere? Would she deny, confirm, or simply sidestep? The industry leaned forward, relishing the suspense. Because whether she answered or not, the narrative had already been set in motion, and people were telling it for her. Ozan, one of the most beloved names in Turkey's entertainment landscape, had always been a paradox, intense yet unshowy, eloquent but restrained, an actor who preferred duration over display. That night, though, something pierced through. The event wasn't entirely public, it was a curated gathering with hand-picked guests and a closely managed press line. For much of it, he handled the usual questions with practiced ease: the preparation for his role, the demands of the schedule, the creative team he was excited to work with. And then came that deceptively simple query: so far, who has impressed you the most? He paused, just for the length of a breath, and let a small smile appear. Sinem, he said in essence, setting off a chain reaction. It was the tone as much as the content that shook people. He didn't sound glib. He didn't sound like a showman. He sounded like a person carrying a memory with weight. The sentence hit the press pack like a spark landing on dry leaves, and in the blink of an eye, the night shifted from polite and predictable to something taut and unforgettable. Their history gave his words extra gravity. Over the years, Ozan and Sinem had found a broad, devoted audience through the projects that placed them side by side. Their on-screen rhythm went beyond dialogue. It existed in pauses, in glances, in the way a scene could hold its breath when they were both in the frame. It's the kind of energy that doesn't require the public to know anything about the private, because the work itself seems to suggest a secret language. That's why the confession, if one accepts that label, felt to many like a key turning. Perhaps it unlocked nothing. Perhaps it revealed everything. Sinem's decision to remain silent came under a microscope. The talk shows debated it. Was it dignity or distance, savvy or stubbornness? Sources described her as surprised but steady, someone who recognizes when attention can multiply without her adding a word. She has never enjoyed giving the public more than they are owed, a stance that makes her presence all the more fascinating when she does appear. For now, she has chosen quiet, and quiet can be a powerful response. Social media, meanwhile, broke into competing camps, each building persuasive narratives out of fragments. Some users revisited scenes from years past, slow-motion edits that caught the subtlest details, a glance held a beat longer, a half-smile slipped between lines. Others posted clips of interviews where they praised each other's craft, reading into compliments and intimacy too careful to name. The algorithm obliged, resurfacing fan videos, digital montages, and a sea of behind-the-scenes moments. A certain hashtag #OzanLaSinem, began charting as people threaded together a timeline of looks and laughter, trying to turn breadcrumbs into proof. At the same time, a practical theory flourished. Maybe this was part of a marketing strategy designed to wrap Ozan's comeback in an emotional glow. Maybe the line was timing, not truth. Maybe it was both. Even seasoned commentators split down the middle. One faction argued that the line was personal, too quiet and unadorned to be orchestrated. The other side reminded everyone that modern publicity is a choreography of feeling, and that the cleanest lines can be the most rehearsed. Through it all, those closest to Ozan refused to offer a definitive explanation. They called it a natural moment, which is to say a human one. They did not add to the rumor mill, didn't deny or confirm, didn't color in any blanks. The effect of their restraint was to leave the sentence exactly as it was spoken. Unadorned, unqualified, and open to endless interpretation. As the days rolled forward, Turkish tabloids camped on every potential angle. Would Sinem post a caption that could be read as an answer? Would she step onto a red carpet and sidestep the question with grace? Or would she spark a new wave with a single sentence of her own? Whether she would break her silence or let the moment pass became headline fodder. And because the entertainment world has a memory like quicksilver. Mercurial but unrelenting, her choice, whatever it may be, promised to carry consequences. Then, as if to underline the original shock, the story echoed again. At another gathering, smaller, darker, with lights softened for ambience, Ozan stood under a row of cameras and again met the press with a measured stillness. He fielded questions about the script, the director's vision, the physical demands of the role. He joked lightly about long nights and early calls. But when someone, clearly emboldened by the viral scene, repeated the sentiment with a twist, "Who has left the deepest impression on you, truly?" the atmosphere dense again. Ozan's smile was almost imperceptible. "Sinem," he suggested without flourish, as if acknowledging what everyone already knew he'd said. It wasn't dramatic, but the effect was the same. The night was rewired in an instant. That second spark reignited the debate, adding fuel to every theory. Viewers who had watched their projects together felt validated, those who doubted dug in harder. The archives opened once more. Older interviews, captured on phones and half-forgotten drives, surfaced with renewed energy. People clipped out tiny gestures and exchanges, splicing them into new edits that felt like poetry. The conversation swelled into a cultural moment, the kind that makes even those outside the fandom pause and ask for context. Sinem, despite the noise, held her line. She did not chase the storm. Insiders suggested she was aware of every headline but unwilling to let the spectacle set her pace. This is a pattern familiar to those who have followed her for years. She protects what matters by refusing to make it a performance. If this is strategy, it is one rooted in personality rather than calculation. She does not trade on the currency of confession. And yet, by saying nothing, she arguably said more. Fans projected their own emotions into the space she left unoccupied. Was her silence a shield for something fragile? A refusal to lend weight to a narrative someone else had started? Or was it a quiet acknowledgement that stories can belong to the work they made together, without needing to bleed into real life? The longer the quiet lasted, the more the industry speculated about Ozan's next move. Would he double down, or let the line stand alone? He remained focused on the film, talking in interviews about the character's complexities and the ways the role demanded humility. He described feeling re-energized by the craft, which only sharpened the tension between art and rumor. The rumor was loud, the art was patient. The question hung between them: which would people listen to? In the weeks that followed, memories of their shared work re-entered the cultural bloodstream with renewed intensity. Scenes once watched casually were now scrutinized. The monologues felt heavier, the silences between lines felt alive. Crew members from past sets gave soft, affectionate recollections of concerts after long shoots, of laughter during rehearsals, of professionalism that never wavered even when an unscripted spark flickered between takes. None of it was proof of anything. All of it was evidence of why the public cared. The two readings of Ozan's moment, confession or craft, continued their tug-of-war. A renowned critic wrote that the simplest lines are the most complicated, that a sentence like "I fell for Sinem" can be true in a way that belongs to a character as much as a person. A producer quietly countered that for someone so measured, a slip like that is rarely accidental. There were no answers, only impressions. Still, the excitement brought something undeniably joyful. Fans met online to rewatch their favorite scenes, organizing watch parties that filled comment sections with layered reactions. Artists painted, editors edited, writers wrote. The fandom took the line and made it theirs, transmuting speculation into creativity. This, more than anything, proved the enduring magnetism of what Ozan and Sinem built in front of the camera. By the time the dust began to settle, the outlines of the story were clear enough to stand even if nothing else happened. Ozan, returning to cinema with a project that asked a lot of him, dropped a sentence that shook the day. His closest people described it as unadorned emotion. Sinem, steady and interior, chose quiet. The tabloids kept watch, waiting for a break in the clouds. And the audience, faithful and fervent, relived a chapter of television history as if it were happening in the present tense. Did we witness a message meant for one person, delivered in front of everyone? Did we watch a savvy artist deepen the mystique just in time for a premiere? The beauty and frustration of the moment is that we don't know. What we do know is that a brief answer captured the imagination of a country and beyond, and in doing so reminded people why they loved them in the first place. Because when Ozan Akbaba and Sinem Ünsal share a frame, or a sentence, the air seems to charge itself. Maybe that's the only confession that matters. That's where we'll leave it for now. If Sinem breaks her silence, you know we'll be here first with the details. If Ozan adds context, we'll dissect every word. Until then, thank you for watching Secrets Behind the Stars. If you enjoyed our video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. See you in the next one.